Here we go. We've got it. And JJ's coming in. It's good to have you, JJ. Welcome.
It is a treat to be here.
Well, JJ, you're the guy we wanted on this show because we are talking cannabis websites, cannabis tech. Has the great revolution started? I know you guys picked up the article on Apple. What do you think the value of a major website like yours, the Fresh Toast, I should say, huge publication? Did you double in value with this new trend of tech sites, cannabis sites getting this kind of money and this funding?
Well, I'm not going to I'm not going to say what our valuation is because I think that'd be a little awkward. But let me just say that the Politico just sold to a German company for $1 billion, and Politico is less than 10 years old, but they've done a great job getting out there and branding, and they did what the number one thing is they drove traffic. They have a huge traffic, and I didn't even know they have another tech site. Did you know that?
I did not know. What's it called?
Called Protocol, and it's all about tech.
And was that part of the sale?
That was part of the sale. They spent $1 billion for that, which I thought was pretty amazing. So it goes to show you, if you could deliver the traffic, you can get the cheddar.
And you've certainly switched from mainstream heavier into cannabis over the last few years. That decision to turn looks very smart as of today.
Right. I think so. I think so too. And CBD, we forget, when we launched at the end of 2016, CBD was wrapped into the cannabis industry and was, a stepchild of it. And now it is expected to be a same size competing industry.
And what do you think? You're based out in Seattle on the West Coast. Has this tech trend as far as platforms, let's say it's Jess Billingsley at Akerna, or it's going to be now Socrates at Jane. Are they going to be able to make a run at a Weed Maps and Leafly? I mean, $100 million, what's that, a Series A even, maybe B for them. That doesn't sound like they want to be acquired. That sounds more like they want to be the third or go for it, kind of race to the top.
Right, and they want to race to the top, and good, bad, or indifferent, Weed Maps was the smartest player in the field. They work well with their clients. They slowly and steadily build relationships. And then they, when they did that SPAC, they merged in with a tech company. And so, they're bringing everything to the market that people love. They deliver customers, they're consistent, and they have a lot of technology. So that's the three things that they really have. And it's all in the same space. And here's what you have to worry about with Jane or Leafly or others who want to come into that. There's only so many customers. We work with Brookings, and they think we have about 50 million people use cannabis a year. Now, let's say it goes full legalization. That might move to 75 or even 100, but there's 235 million who drink every year, who at least have one drink. So it's about half that size of that market. And when you look at the comparison for sites and drivers, it's really different.
Interesting. Do you see this going kind of regulation-wise when we get there? Is this going to be alcohol, cigarettes, or something else?
I think it'll be a mixture between alcohol and cigarettes. And my thought to that is look, the industry is relatively small compared to other like industries. And the big drivers in our industry right now are alcohol, pharma, and tobacco. And alcohol and tobacco know how to do retail, know how to do restaurant bars. They know how to move product. They know how to work through the congressional system and the FDA to get that product in someone's hands. So we're more likely going to see it be regulated like liquor and tobacco, which allows us to be in a Walmart, a Walgreens, a CVS, a Target. It opens up incredible doors and will forever change how the product is sold.
Use the Fresh Toast with their you have a huge medical following, do a lot of medical articles. Do you see an opportunity there, whether it's working with a provider, a dispensary, or a doctor's network for eventually selling through the Fresh Toast?
Oh, 100%. And the thing is what people don't really understand when it comes to medical marijuana is, we're driven a lot by insurance. And I think if you look at a lot of things around right now with decisions hospitals are making, it's insurance-based and getting reimbursed and so forth. And for doctors to prescribe cannabis now, mainstream doctors that say Providence or Humana or something like that, they take a lot of risk because their insurance doesn't cover any of it, and nor do they get reimbursed. So that becomes not only a risk, but it also becomes an opportunity for them to lose money because they're suddenly not reimbursed for a period of time or treatment.
And how did, we do have an ongoing chat. People can ask questions on Twitch and YouTube. We're live right now and the show gets edited. How did the name The Fresh Toast come up and how'd you pick it?
I wanted something that had no connotation, that when you're at work or if you're at your grandparents and they pull up the fresh toast, it just feels good. It was a robust dialogue with our marketing firm. Round one did not go well. Round two started off very poorly. They came up with this. We surveyed about 50 millennials, and out of the 50, 49 loved it.
That's a good way to do it. That's the old minimal viable product to test and see. Go ahead, David. Sorry.
Oh, no, I think that's great. You know, I agree a lot with what JJ's saying. And you as well, Curt. I've been saying for several years that the value, the long-term value is in touching the customer. And up in Massachusetts and in other states, the initial rush is to get into cultivation. And I continue to scratch my head over that because the industry could tip upside down. Now that what we're seeing with Apple, well, JJ, I have a question for you. So we've seen Apple is now going to allow marijuana wraps in the store. And yet at the same time those articles are coming out, we're seeing articles how Instagram is starting to clamp down harder on marijuana firms. Anybody who has something marijuana related, accounts frozen. There's speculation that it's being done by artificial intelligence, not necessarily humans behind, and that it gets turned around. But Facebook is not friendly to marijuana. Obviously, Instagram isn't. But with Apple being a major consumer-facing tech company, how does that change the rest of Silicon Valley?
Well, we're unpacking a lot in your questions there. So let's take them too. Let's take Apple and let's take Facebook, Instagram separately.
Yep.
So Apple, if you work anywhere in the tech startup field, they're like, oh my God, Apple picked up our app. Well, hello, you and 50 million other people. And when you look at consumer behavior, no one downloads a beer app. How many beer apps do you have on your phone?
None.
Do you all drink beer?
Not me.
No.
But how many of your friends who drink beer refer to a beer app? There isn't really a beer app.
Right.
People don't want a beer app because they don't want to be defined by beer. When you look at the apps that people download, it's what they define. Cute Kitties, Zillow. I love looking at real estate. I'm a fashionista. I rarely do you see the only real app that has been successful, which was founded by a friend of mine, is Seller Tracker. Have you heard of that? And you can scan the code. It tells you how much the bottle's worth and when you should drink it. And you can pull it up if you're getting ready to have a dinner or someone over, and you can pull up the bottle and it'll tell you if it's ready to drink right then or what it's worth. But in general, people don't have an app to buy beer. Because you know why? Because they stop it at CVS and they pick it up, or they stop at Walgreens or the 7-Eleven or some bodega. And so being on Apple sounds amazing, not going to be transformative for the industry. Because people are trying to provide all, and when we launched this with our first newspaper partner, they got 10 million hits a month, this newspaper, and I'm roughly making this. Out of that, 400,000 was through their app. Traffic isn't driven that much through the app anymore. It's driven through Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, etc. So yeah, it's great for Apple. They're going to make a lot of money. There's going to be a lot more money raised. A lot more companies go under because of that. My belief and what we see, and I'm discussing with friends who are in the industry.
What's your take on Instagram and Twitter? I'm sorry, Instagram and Facebook.
So you bring up a good question about AI. AI is nothing more than data in, put into a system, and data out. So it's not an independent thinker. Facebook says, here's all these things that you have to look for. And if any of those triggers click, deny it. And so they're going through that whole same system that will treat it all. I've talked to some early Facebook people, and they're just not big on weed. They're not really big on weed. And Facebook is, along with other companies, are really looking at China, and China's so anti-weed that it makes a big difference. Instagram is huge for influencers, but the largest traffic driver to sites is Facebook. So Facebook is the one where it's going to have to be really convinced, and Facebook's not going to do it till there's greater federal legalization.
So if somebody's in this space, let's say, we kind of talk about this, you and I have been doing this a while, and they want to start a cannabis blog or a cannabis website. They're a blogger. What tips would you give them at this stage in 2021 for getting out there and getting traffic?
Well, one, what's your goal? What's your end game? Is it because you're passionate and you're an evangelical and this is really important? Then great, you go have a great time. Are you trying to build a business to live on, live well, or sell? Whole different thing. One, as y'all know, it's 3 years. Google, Apple, Bing, all are going to wait to see how consistent you are. Do you publish every day? How much do you publish? The whole bit. They're going to look at that every day. And you're not going to get that traffic unless Kim Kardashian or The Rock tweets about you, or Instagram and Facebook's about you every week. You've got to slowly build that reputation within that and to show it. It's really a hurry up and wait game. So that's the number one thing is people will talk, people think that they instantly I'm going to ask all my friends on Facebook and I'll probably have 1 million people. That never happens. Sorry for that. My window's open.
No worries.
Rough neighborhood, JJ said,
Live in downtown Seattle.
Rock and roll.
Two, you have to really figure out a multifaceted revenue stream. Advertising doesn't cut anymore. And you have to stay dedicated and consistent. Bustle boomed and then pulling back a little bit. And I think you saw, what was it? They said, 'tis the season. Vibe just laid off had another round of layoffs because they overgrew and they tried to do too many. But the biggest thing is understand your customer and your consumer. Figure out who are you talking to and what do they want to hear. I'm sorry.
Is the ultimate play for websites, like you said, the ad revenue is not going to get you your Lamborghini each month. Is the ultimate play to take that traffic and those eyeballs and convert it to an order and then get paid residually or get a payout like as an affiliate, unless you're going to be completely vertically integrated, as a dispenser?
Well, for every website, it ultimately is converting that customer into a greater revenue stream. And it could be in advertising, it could be direct, it could be through affiliate, it could be, which is harder, it could be through somehow monetizing them, getting them to make a purchase that you get a cut. There's multiple ways to slice that peach, since it's summer and peachorama here in Seattle. But it's, you have to recognize, and you always have to look at your ability to be able to do that. But if you're at 10,000 a month, it's almost impossible. You've got to be huge to be able to monetize.
And you're super fashionista and into brands. What would you tell brands right now that are looking to drive traffic, say it's through the Fresh Toast or another site? What should they be doing to get more eyeballs?
Be more mainstream. That's what goes over well. Krispy Kreme, Red Robin, McDonald's, Jimmy John's, Bud Light, Polo. Mainstream sells big numbers because people feel comfortable with that.
And do you have, I know you're out in Seattle, do you have any favorite brands you can share that you like what they're doing? Or do you kind of look for a good deal at the dispensary?
Well, I have to say, Magic Kitchen here blows it out, and Fat Panda has some of the best reputations in the Northwest. They're really good. Magic Kitchen's great. There's, but here's another example going into that. You look at PAX. PAX is a mediocre product, but the people behind PAX did the great thing is they marketed the heck out of it, and it's now, the top selling. McDonald's, Jimmy John's, which I do like Jimmy John's, Subway. No one says, oh my God, that's a great sandwich. It's price affordable. People know they know what they're going to get, and it's easy. And that's what people want.
And convenient.
Yeah.
Right? That's Subway.
Yeah, very much so.
Well, that kind of plays into the theme of the article's race to the bottom, as far as, it's going to be, like I said, Budweiser's #1 selling beer. It's at 98%, you still have these craft brews, but like you said, if you want to get a lot of sales and comfort and people like, know, or trust, you got to have more of a mainstream brand than a segmented brand that's geared toward, female millennials or male millennials, whatever you slice it.
And let's say the legal market is 16 million people. So, and by the way, it's Bud Light's #1 selling brand.
Sorry.
So let's say the mainstream market is 16 million people in the United States. 50, there's 50 million people doing it. 16, or let's say even say 20 million people are buying it legally. Okay, you can either go after 20 million and make a quarter, but compete for that 20 million, or you can go out for $1 million and make $1. So if you get 1% sales on either one, you're gonna make a lot more going after that 20 million.
That's right. David, how are we looking? Any comments, questions? What do you got over there?
Well, we got a lot of comments. We got a lot of comments about people who are wondering what's going to happen to the marijuana retailers when it starts to sell and dispense, whether it starts to sell in convenience stores and gas stations. And I think that's a long way off, primarily because, and each state's licensing scheme is different, but Massachusetts is the one I know best. I'm starting to learn about New Jersey. You have to have the license to sell it, and it's a limited number of licenses that are out there. So it's not like brand new kind of chips come out and every convenience store says, oh, we have to have these new McKay chips on our shelf, right? This is different. It's a regulated product. You have to have a license to sell it. It's not as easy. It reminds me 30 years ago when I was in the equipment finance industry, I had a client who owned 2 coffee shops. One of them was in the little enclave of Auburndale, part of Newton, Massachusetts, on Commonwealth Avenue. Phenomenal location. Dunkin' Donuts wanted to open up a coffee shop there, and they couldn't get in. The town elders wouldn't allow a Dunkin' Donuts over there. This guy decided he was going to go out on his own, buy his own metal stamping shop, needed some capital, and what he did was he sold the shop to Dunkin' Donuts. They said to him, you can take all your equipment, take all your inventory, you can take everything, go open up someplace else. All they wanted was the lease, so they had the location and the license so they could go to the town or the city and say, now we want to change the name. That's going to bode well if people think that all of a sudden this is going to be able to be sold in gas stations and convenience stores. That means they're either going to have to, the gas stations and convenience stores are going to have to try to change the law to expand the license count, or they're going to buy up small operators and say, we're going to close you down and move you into our store. Right? I don't really see it as a major risk of beyond
David,
that.
I'm gonna disagree with you a little bit, but I'll let.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
We've seen this happen before. This is not new. So maybe it's because y'all are so young, but remember back in the day when you could pick up a VCR and a VCR tape?
Yep.
And by the way, do you know why we went with VCR rather than Blu-ray? Do y'all have the answer to that?
No.
The porn industry decided to go all in with VCR, and they began outstripping Blu-ray, and that's why it fell to the wayside. So porn led the way on the digital. So, but you remember,
the way on streaming.
Yeah, and on
We wouldn't have
secure online
streaming without
payments. And secure online payments, they're phenomenal. So you look at when you could first get videos. It was all in these local stores, neighborhoods, everything like that. And then it transitioned to a bigger player of Blockbuster and Hollywood Video. But ultimately what killed them is that you could rent it at your local grocery store. So all of a sudden now you're in a one-stop. And, Bob's Bodega in downtown Boston, or that may have a struggle, but I can tell you based on the industry, liquor, retail, pharma, tobacco will get it into Walmart, Walgreens, Target, CVS, and they're all, I don't think anybody in an urban or heavy suburban area is ever more than 5 minutes from one of those 4 stores.
Weed Talk and In the Weeds are 2 productions of Pro Cannabis Media supported by Revolutionary Clinics, one of the top medical cannabis dispensaries in the Massachusetts area, now with 3 locations in Greater Boston, 2 in Cambridge and 1 on Broadway in Somerville. Rev Clinics has a patient-first mission. They will customize your needs as a medical patient with the proper titration and combination of strains, flavors, and products. Rev Clinics, where the patient comes first.
Difference is building a solution for that individual, not just a custom, here's a box, here's a video, here's how you make your VMS. We custom design and custom build every situation for exactly what the customer needs. And we keep the cost low. We have multiple tiers, as far as what you're looking at on the cost side of things. If you want a one-time, where you just pay one initial cost, we have that. If you want to maintain your system and have the highest protection and highest capabilities and highest upgrades at all times, we have different plans for you. But we scale it so it's scalable and affordable 100%.